To the I-Team now, a big development today in a murder case that once dominated Atlanta headlines. After almost 3 decades in prison for killing his wife, Louis Joyner is a free man tonight on parole.
In 1996, he stood trial in Fulton County for beating and strangling Ruby Joyner. But the case involved a lover's triangle with 2 bodies dumped at the airport. A jury acquitted Joyner of shooting the other woman in the head.
Our Fox 5 I-Team reporter Johnny Edwards spoke with relatives of the murdered wife, who spoke about her killer being set free. Johnny?
Russ and Cordy, these family members watched a judge hand their uncle a life sentence for killing their Aunt Ruby. Since then, he's been denied parole 7 times, but now he gets his freedom.
Count 1, murder, guilty.
30 years ago, a case that shook Metro Atlanta. 2 women missing from Peachtree City and a husband bolting for New York City.
That in itself is very strange to me.
Then, with the 1996 Summer Olympics right around the corner, 2 bodies found in a van at Hartsfield Airport. The victims, 40-year-old Halima Jones and 43-year-old Ruby Joyner, 2 friends who'd gone out shopping together. Halima shot in the head. Ruby strangled and beaten to death.
She was a kind, gentle person. She loved her family.
Within a week, Ruby's husband, Louis Joyner, captured in Harlem.
He was like a father figure to me.
Now the criminal case launched so many years ago comes to an end. Joyner, now 77 years old and paroled.
We kind of knew this day was coming, but we didn't know it was coming this soon.
2 of Louis and Ruby's nieces spoke out to the Fox 5 I-Team about the parole board's decision. Both live out of state.
We would rather he still be locked up, okay, as opposed to free and able to roam the streets and live a life where Ruby doesn't have that chance or that opportunity, you know, because he took that away in November of 1995. He took that away.
What would ever be enough? We don't know what enough would be. I have mixed feelings, personally.
According to Georgia's prison system, Louis Joyner's most recent institution was here, a minimum security transitional center in Midtown for men who are close to the end of their incarceration.
The State Department of Corrections confirming Louis Joyner no longer in state custody. Now a free man, Joyner remains the only person alive who knows what really happened on November 15th, 1995. Between him, his wife, and his wife's close friend, who authorities learned Joyner was having an affair with.
For the sake of me, I still can't understand why. Someone who loved you and you supposedly have loved her.
Joyner owned a moving and storage company. A search of his property turning up a large amount of cocaine.
There are just a lot of questions that we still have that only Louis Joyner can answer, and he has not chosen to do that truthfully.
In court, he pointed a finger at his dead wife, calling her a killer.
Mr. Joyner, did you kill Halima Jones?
No, sir.
Did you kill Ruby Joyner in self-defense?
Yes, sir.
He said his wife drove all 3 of them in Halima's minivan to a wooded area, where she hopped out and opened fire on her friend.
Ruby shouted, "You cheating."
Say it.
"You cheating shit," and fired the gun.
Then he said his wife chased him into the woods and pounced on him, and he killed her in self-defense. Grenda said that's not how the aunt she knew would have handled finding out about an affair.
She's afraid of weapons, so I know she didn't have a weapon. She would have just left him. I know she would have just left him. She wouldn't have jeopardized her life like that. She would have just left him.
The jury didn't buy it either. The prosecution charging Joyner planned to kill his wife and accidentally shot his mistress.
And regardless of whether he had any more bullets, he has shot the wrong woman. He now cannot kill the right one, and he proceeds to beat her.
You can't convict on speculation.
With insufficient evidence, the jury acquitted Joyner of Halima's killing, but not his wife's.
We, the jury, find the defendant Louis Albert Joyner Jr., count 1, murder, guilty.
I sentence you to life in prison.
But after almost 30 years, he now walks free.
It really destroyed our family. My grandmother went into a depression, and she never came out because she was like, why a daughter? Why Ruby? I just hope that while he was sitting there, that he did have time to think about what he did and how he affected this family.
Now, the prosecutor in Joyner's case, Penny Penn, is now Forsyth County's DA. Joyner's lawyer at the time, Steve Sadow, is currently defending President Trump in Fulton County's racketeering case. And that wasn't Louis Joyner's last criminal case. In 1997, he was convicted of possession of cocaine and marijuana, receiving 15 years per count. That was in Fayette County. Russ, Courtney?
Wow, it's just so much emotion surrounding his release, clearly, with these two nieces. But there so many times were said that there are a lot of unanswered questions here and that he would be able to answer some of those questions if he's willing. Do the nieces expect to ever speak with their uncle ever again?
Well, they would certainly like to know the truth from him if he would tell it. Now, Glenda said she's not expecting to hear from him and she's really not interested in having a conversation with him. Coretta, on the other hand, said that she used to be quite close with him. And when I asked her the question if she'd like to talk to him, she hesitated. She said she really can't say, and she might be open to it, maybe not. You know, time will tell.
Just shows you how the pain of a loss like this just simply never goes away.
Absolutely. And I mean, they didn't just lose an aunt, they also lost an uncle.
That's
I mean,
right.
But he's still with us, and now he's back out in the world, and it'll be interesting to see if he ever does decide to either publicly or privately come clean and say what happened that night.
Yeah.
If he did, maybe that could provide some closure for these family members.
At the very least.
Yeah. All right. Johnny, thanks.
Thank you.